once you're already in a relationship.
Yeah,
sometimes. And I think that's the problem.
Sometimes.
Like, I mean, I'm coming for your neck specifically, obviously.
Yeah.
But like,
which is cool. It's cool.
Which, yeah, like I can do that. It's fine.
She's like, I can do it. I'm fine. It's whatever.
But you know, like I've known, like, I mean, I've only seen you in like 2 relationships now, I guess.
Yeah.
But I've known about a lot of your relationships, and in a lot of the times you're trying to be like, oh, this is what she's expecting of me, and I'm trying to see like how I can like give her that, and then eventually you're like, I don't want to give her that. Like, that doesn't work for me.
Oh, really?
You don't fucking work for me.
I think.
I don't think. No, really? You think that's how his relationship?
I feel like this is like I can like. I don't want to talk about it in depth because I don't want to like give names.
No,
you just bleep it out.
No, but like I think that's funny though, because like me seeing all of his relationships, it's actually been quite the opposite. So like it's a lot of the girls seem to want to meet a specific expectation that he has of them, and the reason why I say that specifically is because since I've met all of them, it's like
I'm always very clear about what I'm attracted to.
Juan has always been very fairly clear about
they sometimes try to like meet that mold and they can't cut it, and then it becomes to like, not that they can't cut it. I'm not saying that they can't cut it. They just aren't that. Or they might not even want that. Sure. You know, and they might have been trying to test the field on it.
And it's been both ends though.
Side, when you're saying like, oh, like if I'm in like a relationship, I'm trying to gauge if I can be the person that this person is wanting. Like if that is a good match. Because I believe oftentimes like men will try to, and then once they're in a relationship, months into the relationship, I guess I can't really like say how on average.
Right. But just later
once you're in a relationship, once already enough time has passed, time in which you already knew that you weren't that person, then you're like, oh, you know what? It's true. This isn't working out. Right. And it's like, bitch, you knew that before. Yeah. You're trying to fit a mold that you knew you did not fit.
And to be fair, I think that probably happens
all the time.
Maybe equally for men and women, but maybe
I do think it happens. I think in the long term,
probably more for women. In the short term, maybe in the short long term, you know, maybe more for men. You know what I mean?
I do think so. I do think, because like for instance, not saying that any of the women in your your previous relationships were trying to be somebody that they weren't. Yeah. It's just that y'all both in the relationship found out, ooh, actually, sweetie, we're both not what we need for each other. So both. I would say though, you less than anything. We're trying to, because Juan's very like square, and like
I'm very like hit or miss. Like
you're very square. Like you're very like cutthroat type of thing, where you're like, if you genuinely don't like a girl for something, you just will not even try to. You won't even dare approach it, because you're like, why? Why do I need to do that?
And to be fair, if I had to make a rebuttal about like, because I do agree with you that men end up in those kinds of things in the long term, because it has happened to me to where I'm in a relationship, and then after a while I'm like, man, this isn't working. The argument that I would say there, if it even is a good argument, apparently not, because it ended up not working out, right? I don't have a success rate in this arena. But the thought process is, relationships are about compromise. And I'm trying to figure out which compromises I'm willing to make. Yeah. And maybe, because I don't know this person and we're trying to figure this out, the compromise that I thought I wasn't willing to make might be acceptable if something is being given in that relationship that like a trade-off there, that I'm like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. I used to think that this was that this was non-negotiable, but this person's really like
giving it to you, so
you did a 180 on me, and made me realize that like it actually can be a little negotiable, because I just never expected this type of person to be in front of me.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a different conversation.
It hasn't. Well, but that just goes to like, yeah, I might have realized months or weeks before that it wasn't working out, but I'm still willing to give it a chance and see which compromises I'm willing to make.
I'm not talking about you realizing that this is not working out because of them. I'm talking about you realizing I'm not this person for you.
Sure, but like, I think it works both ways.
You have this expectation. Yeah, but it's different for us to be like, oh, I thought you were meeting that expectation, and now I'm realizing like that's not true, and this is not working out for me. That's different from being like, you know what, I tried really fucking hard to meet your expectation, and like it's not how I operate, and it's not typically, you know what I mean? It's fair. Not how I function, but I liked you. So I was like, well, let me, you know, if this is what she wants, then let me kind of like try to fit that.
And to be fair,
even like, but that's not really me. It's like, you knew that all along. You didn't need to date somebody 6 months into a relationship to find that out.
Yeah.
And to be fair, in almost a good percentage of the relationships that have ended for me, the girl ends up coming up to me later on and being like, actually, that was like the best thing that could have happened, because you were right. Like, this wasn't this wasn't working. And I'm like, I know in the moment it's, you know, really what's tough,
crazy?
You know what I mean?
This is gonna sound a little funny, and like it's not. If I don't mean to hurt your ego. I don't think it will. No. But like almost every single one of Juan's ex-girlfriends, their next boyfriend always ends up being the guy that they end up with. And it's like, and it's like, Juan, somehow you become this catalyst that, like, in their minds, that's like, he was right. I should have been doing this for myself. Because this is why I say that a lot of his girlfriends.
Well, some of those were also accidents, and they did not mean to. So
I mean, a lot of these. I also think
some of it was not intentional.
That's
no comment.
I do think that's why I think that like a lot of your ex-girlfriends were more in trying to please your expectation of a girl. Because once they left you and just started being themselves with their next boyfriend, they were like,
that's probably the better way to say it.
Oh, like, and it wasn't because they were doing anything wrong, but just because they genuinely were like, okay, let me build a relationship with Juan. And they were really attracted to you. So they were trying to be this girl that you have always envisioned, which is not an easy girl to attain, because it's a very, not a specific, but it's a different kind of girl.
Going back to the expectations. And
you have a just different kind of girl in mind for what you think would suit your life in the future and in the present, which is very different from a lot of girls' like lives. So once
and to your point from earlier, there's been times where I've been in the dating, and I haven't necessarily been looking for that person, and I might have just been like, no, I just want to have fun right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And if that person, probably to somebody's bad luck, I might have encountered somebody that, looking back on it, be like, maybe that could have been like decent, but like in the moment, I wasn't in that mindset. And I've said it, like, right now, I'm not good for you.
Yeah.
And right now,
and I think that's important. I think that's also important.
That's where
that's what you should. That's what everybody should do.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Like,
I was trying to look up. There is something, or I don't know if there's actually a name, but there is like something about being like the last person that people date before they find the one. And I feel like there's a name for it. And
there might be like a chick flick about it or something.
There might be, because you definitely are that guy. You're that guy.
Let's hope not, because I'm in a relationship right now. So
I mean, I will say though.
Fucking curse me right now, dog.
Like, I'm just saying, you
have been that guy.
You are that guy.
I've been a lot of women.
You, like, he's literally every single one of them. Like, and I mean, since your first beginning girlfriend, all of them. Like,
so
it's
crazy.
So weird, but I really do think it's coming.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, we live in Texas, so you know, it's like people's clocks are really running, so chances are
I don't know, man.
Already, you know what I mean? And like, you're nearing 30, so the people
next
that
week.
You have dated.
Yes, next week.
On Saturday, right?
On Tuesday.
Monday. Isn't it Monday? Isn't it Monday?
I was between the 22nd and the 26th, and I couldn't remember.
No,
well, I mean, going back to you being this, catalyst for women, it's, I mean, it's scary. But I mean, in the long run, though, like, you just are the kind of guy, always, that has had this sort of emotional maturity that a lot of people crave. And a lot of people look for. And this just doesn't have to do with your relationships. Like, in general, people look for you to be like, he kind of knows what he's doing with his life, which you don't ever.
Which, going back to a couple episodes ago, I specifically said nobody knows what the fuck they're doing.
But you're a very comforting character.
I feel like you have a level of like self-awareness and like consciousness about like who you are and what you want and like your life
and what you give to people, like what you can.
That I feel like you don't find that very often.
You don't. So like, being around someone like you,
in men specifically.
Especially in men, when it comes down to you, even when you were younger, you were like this, because I can attest to this a lot. I know a lot of your friends can attest to the fact that you've always been some sort of like a rock for people that just kind of, you.
Yeah, currently, in this current time right now, that rock is not a. It's been a little annoying. Not annoying because people are coming to me asking for things, but annoying because this is a particularly specific time that is it's a little bit more difficult. But you know, to your point, you may be right, and that kind of, and that's why I'm saying that specific question is a little difficult because I can see.
I feel like it's very situational.
Yeah,
well, and I've been yesterday me and Bree went to Better Luck Tomorrow. Shout out to Better Luck Tomorrow.
I haven't been there in so long.
It's a great bar. And there was this couple there having what I think was a first date. If it wasn't a first date, it was like a meetup. It was all like, we'll go get a drink, and maybe they're just like, you know.
It seemed like one of the first times they were hanging out.
They were testing out the waters.
And it was probably the first time that this man like got the guts to tell her like, let's go just me and you. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be anything like specific. And the only reason I say that,
that's cute.
And ask me out on a date. I'm so bored.
And the reason I say that is because they were like. It looked like they just came back from working out. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like a necessary. It might have been like random. Like, hey, I might. You know what I mean? Whatever. However, but I'm looking at this interaction and I'm like, holy cow! Like shit! Like this is kind of cute. Yeah. But also, like, you can see in real time how they're talking to each other and how they're asking things to gauge where it is that the other person is. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
Like, she's asking where he regularly goes to eat, and then she makes like little like side comments like, "Oh, I was there last week. I'm surprised we've never run into each other." And like, and he's like trying to see if he can do something with that information, and, you know, and trying to see if that's his in to be like, "Well, we should go there sometime."
Yeah.
And
that's so cute. Literally, the most like human thing ever is to see people just interact.
You can kind of see where like the alley-oop is being thrown, and like he either misses or like or she might like catch, so you can see it in real time. And I'm just sitting there, people watching, trying to like find lyrics or something, and like and I'm just like looking at it, and I'm kind of like smirking because it's like happening in real time, and it just goes like, but they're in like a very specific type of that dating pool. Had it been like a real date at like a really like a date at like a restaurant, I've also seen where like the relationship has been going on for a long time, and there might be some tension between them, and they're at like Valentine's Day dinner or something, or some like actual date or whatever, and the date is horrible because there's like all these expectations, and then maybe they're not supposed to be together, but like they're there, and then they take the shot for Instagram, and it's like, baby took me to 448 or whatever the fuck, right? And it's just like the juxtaposition of those two interactions, and like when you put them side by side, I'm like, I understand why people say that dating is hard.
It is hard. You know what I mean? Fucking hard.
Because
super fucking hard.
Because it's one of those things where like the most seemingly meaningless, non-consequential meetup at a dive bar-ish kind of thing can have, or it can have such a beautiful little they can have such beautiful little moments, and like this big gestural white cloth 3-course meal
can mean nothing.
Just like is down the drain. It's just it's nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it just goes to show that like at least I really believe this. The way to get in the door in somebody's like eyesight, or in somebody's mind, or in somebody's like life, if it's to date and you've never met this person before, that is like a luck thing. Like you kind of have to be in the right mindset. They have to be in the right mindset. They have to want the same thing. They have to find you attractive. There's all these intangibles. But in the long run, especially if you're around somebody for whether it's work or whether it's like in passing or friend group or, you know, secondhand friend group or whatever it is, like the currency of long-term relationships is memories.
Absolutely.
And it's that's the currency of love in reality. It's not necessarily the gesture, it's the memory that gesture created.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the right way, right? Because somebody can make a nice gesture and it's like, oh my God, what a creep. But like it if it goes right, it wasn't. Hopefully, there are superficial people out there, but if it goes right, in theory, what happened in that moment, whether it has monetary,
somebody who's a perfect example for that, and we can bleep it out later.
Whether it's like monetarily like extravagant, or whether it's just like incredibly thoughtful. 20 people came up with a rose with a different like a different attribute. Like I mean, what's gonna happen there is it's gonna create a memory.
Absolutely,
and that memory is the currency of your relationship. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And you just get to put that in the savings account, in the memories of like of your relationship. And that goes back to the keychain that they got you because you were like, I like penguins, and they saw a penguin and they're like, oh, look, you know what I mean? Or I'm oversimplifying, but you know what I'm saying? You can tell the difference between somebody, to your point, now I'm like 100% on board with you. You can tell the difference between something that feels fabricated and like mass produced rather than like serendipitous and like, oh, I crossed your mind today, and that like that creates a current, like a little coin just dropped in this metaphor that I'm kind of putting together, right?
Yeah.